Yo, gunshots, 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 gunshots. Had to give an extra gunshot. Did he smile while he was walking in the courtroom today? We're going to speak on that, and I'm going to have a young lady that's going to be up here that's going to break it down as far as what she's seen while she was in the courtroom reporting. So thank you for tuning in. If you subscribe, hit the notification button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, hit the notification button. We're trying to get to 200 G's, man. You know what I mean? 100 G's is all right, but we're trying to get 200 G's. All right? You know what it is. Unique Mecca audio, man. Check it out. Sit back. She's going to break down what's going on in the Diddy case when she was in the courtroom. When he walked in, she said he was smiling. You know what I mean? His children was there. She's going to break all that down, and we're going to get into the law as far as him asking for a speedy trial. You know, I'm going to explain to you why it was beneficial for him to ask for a speedy trial, and his lawyers did the exact right thing they were supposed to do. You're going to find this interesting. All right, let's get to this thing about how it went in the courtroom first.
We've seen many photos, videos of Sean Combs, aka Diddy, through the Associated Press, through Instagram. And so to see him kind of in person after being in jail for 3 weeks now was pretty interesting, to say the least. And I say that by being that you would expect him to feel a little defeated, a little gaunt, anything like that. But it wasn't that case. He appeared confident. He stood tall. But most importantly and most notably, when he walked inside the courtroom, the first thing that he looked at was his family. As soon as he saw his family, he just lit up. Another thing to note, too, is he wasn't shackled, but he was wearing a khaki prison-like jumpsuit when he appeared inside court, and his family appeared on their end very just happy to see him. Now, I will say, when I was inside the courtroom, I was a little bit towards the back right side of the gallery, and so for seeing Sean Combs, I had to look through a few heads and stuff like that, but again, he appeared just kind of confident walking inside that courtroom, and it might have just been the look that his family was there. So let me kind of.
All right, so let me break that down, right? He walks in the courtroom, right? This P. Diddy. I'm giving you the picture of what's going on from my experience, right? When you walk in the courtroom and you see your family out there, now you got to put your shoulders up and you got to put your big daddy face on, the man of the house face, the man that owned the $48 million mansion face. That's the face he had to put on when he went in there for his children. He had to let them know that this is daddy standing tall. This is just another obstacle in life for daddy. This is what happened when daddy become a billionaire. All right, as a black man in America. So that's all that is. And he's smiling because just the joy of seeing them there, knowing that he's not alone and he's moving forward with, you know what I mean, the biggest battle of his life. That's the realest feeling that you could ever have, knowing that you're fighting for your life. And you know in your heart that, you know what I mean, what you did or didn't do. So you're not worrying about nothing. You know what you did or didn't do, and you're ready to stand up for whatever it is you did or didn't do. And that's when you got your chest out, your family in the audience, you see them, you smile, letting them know, I'm good, blow a kiss, mwah, 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 all that, show them that everything is love. And that's all Diddy did when he came out in the courtroom, so you can understand it from somebody that been through it. Just seeing your family there make your chest jump out. You know what I mean? It make you stand up and take a deep breath, get all that energy up there, and you ready for whatever. That's how he felt going in there, man. And I'm telling you, at times it's hitting his chest while he's in that cell 23 hours a day, where it's caving him in and it's breaking him. It's breaking him. But when he go in that courtroom and he see his children, oh man, that's when the shoulders go back. I want y'all to really feel what I'm saying now. Come on, man.
paint a picture for you as well too. His mother arrived a little bit before 1 p.m. Eastern time today, and then whenever his children actually came into the courtroom or the courthouse actually kind of got silent. It was pretty interesting to see that as well too. So as far as who was sitting by who, you had Janice Combs who sat by Justin, then it was followed by Chance, the twins, Jesse and Delilah, Quincy, and then Christian Combs, aka King. And so again, once they all saw their father, they all smiled at him, waved at him, and even when we were all leaving the courthouse today, Diddy just blew kisses at his mother and his family members. They didn't say much of anything. I wasn't outside when they had first entered the courthouse, so I'm not sure if they said anything to the press. Previously, they had been very quiet whenever they had entered the courtroom, so I assume it'll be kind of like that as well too. But it was interesting as well that a lot of the arguments kind of based around the data that was recovered and seized from the homes. So while a lot of us were kind of expecting there to be arguments about the bail or the bond, that really didn't happen, and the judge ordered that the defendant, Sean Combs, stay inside the MDNC, which we know the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. And so as far as what we know now is that we know May 5th is going to be the date, tentatively, that the trial does begin. So we have a lot of stuff that we're expecting.
All right. So they got a lot of stuff they expected. All right. So let me break it down. The lawyers went in there instead of asking for bail this time because they see he ain't gonna get it. That's a done deal. No dice. Now, so the lawyers went in there and they asked for a speedy trial. The reason why they asked for a speedy trial is a speedy trial. I think they got like 6 months, to bring you to trial. Now, that's to bring their evidence. When they got 3 terabytes of information, as a lawyer that they cannot look through 3 terabytes of data with human eyes in 6 months and put together a charge, work, sleep, and still try and have a life. It's not going to happen. So that's why his lawyer asked for a speedy trial, because if his lawyer did not ask for a speedy trial, they'll drag it out like they did the Young Thug trial, when you sit in jail 3, 4 years and give them 3, 4 years to look through 3, 4 terabytes. You see where I'm coming from with this? So it's not worth it, man. Don't even go down that road. And that's why I let you know that this is serious what's going on out here. You want the bag. Biggie said it best: more money, more problems. More money, more problems. Just like YouTube, more views, more problems. You get views, people come at you. You know what I mean? And I don't understand why they can't understand that this is big enough for all of us to go through. We talking about the World Wide Web. When I heard that when I was in the prison, I'm like, whoa, they gonna have wires going from here to Japan. How they gonna do that? This is what I'm thinking while I'm in prison, because I wasn't a part of the privy to the technology that was going on. So I'm asking, yo, whoa, what is going on? And I'm like totally lost. And then next thing I know, they say they're gonna have a computer in every home. Cause remember, I went in 1993, so I didn't know nothing about none of this. I'm in ADX Supermax. I'm ordering a magazine called Wired to stay up on the technology the best I can. That's when I first seen they had a little pill, a regular pill you take that had a camera in it, and they say that you take it and swallow it, and the doctor can sit there in the office and monitor your insides going through this pill. I read that in Wired magazine. Those are the magazines I read, so that's why I'm a little knowledgeable in a lot of different topics, because I didn't spend my time, in the prison just sitting around licking my wounds or smoking weed and drinking White Lightning. I smoked a lot of weed and drank a lot of White Lightning, don't get it wrong. But, I made sure that I got my studies in. No one is going to teach you but you. What you learn is only going to benefit you. And then you can share that or spread the love with whoever you choose to do that with. You understand what I'm saying? Let's get back to this news joint, man. Make sure you hit the notification bell. If you subscribe, hit the notification bell and the like button and all that crap that's going on.
expecting to see. But kind of going back to a little bit of the evidence there. Now, I'm looking through this notebook right here, mainly because we're not allowed to have electronic equipment when we're inside that courtroom. So all of this was handwritten notes. So just kind of going over just some of the things that were happening inside that courtroom. I'm sure you have already talked about it there, as far as just all the data that prosecutors and now have in connection to the case. So 96 electronic devices were seized across 3 different locations. That included Diddy's Miami home, his LA mansion, as well as all the devices that were seized whenever he went to the airport. Because as we all remember, when the search warrants were happening, he was actually boarding a flight with his twin daughters, including, and I believe Chance was there as well too, his 18-year-old daughter now, when they were the search warrants were happening and Diddy was caught up at the airport. They did seize different devices that time as well too. And so the data mainly still has to be extracted. Now, the government was kind of talking about just some of the devices are a little bit older, so the government in turn is kind of catching up to the technology there. But they say at the airport they seized 9 different devices. 7 of those have been extracted so far. At Miami, 36 different devices were seized. 29 were extracted. And in LA, 51 devices were seized. 24 have been extracted. They say the 8 terabytes of data, that information could come about in the next 2 weeks or so.
8 terabytes of data. I thought it was 3. 8 terabytes. I got 14 terabytes, in each, storage unit in my system, right? Let me tell you what a terabyte is. A terabyte is like the Empire State Building filled up with papers. That's a terabyte. So we talking about 8 buildings worth of paperwork that they have to sift through in order to make this case. Do you think it's humanly possible for them to go through that much paperwork, which is data from the visual, meaning someone still have to sit there and watch every word being said, so it's equivalent to reading the words, you know what I mean, or speeding it up as you're listening to it or reading it really fast, it's still equivalent to the same thing. Do you think they could look through 8 buildings filled of paperwork by May 25th, 2025, when the trial is scheduled to begin? We know they can't. So, like I've been telling you, what they're going to do is they're going to drop a superseding indictment. The superseding indictment is going to be so scandalous of who's who and what's going to be like, wow, one of them moments, It's going to just take over everything, shut the internet down. But then they'll be able to extend it a little longer and just keep superseding it. And even long after his case is over, they could still continue to supersede it and bring more people in and more people in and more people in. All right, just let you know how that thing play out. Let's go.
So, and they're working on the production, another production of the subpoena returns. And so the defense pretty much didn't object to too much inside the courtroom today. Agnifilo also appeared kind of confident during his arguments. I know a lot of people were kind of expecting for the bail or bond argument to be happening, but that didn't happen. And it appeared that the defense kind of, I'm trying to find the right word here, but they were pretty much complying with all the prosecution's arguments and plan to kind of have everything all good and set to go by May. Now, by the time the end of the year is to happen, I forgot one big turn right here. They did mention that a potential superseding indictment could come. Now, obviously that hasn't happened yet, but the investigation is still ongoing. And so, we don't know a lot of information as.
You see what I'm saying? Haven't I been saying that a superseding indictment is coming? They got to put a superseding indictment. If I was a lawyer, I'd challenge that indictment. That indictment is crap. You know what I mean? But that was just enough to take them off the street, hold them up, and do what they need to do. You know what I mean? And that's what they're doing. But superseding indictment is coming. Watch the superseding indictment.
Far as what that could look like, but it appears that we could expect more charges to come later on, potentially by the end of the year.
That is what we've been
And they
echoing a
will.
lot, that we wouldn't be surprised if there's a superseding indictment and, oh, I don't know. I don't think that May date is going to stick if he's hit with additional charges. That's just my guess. Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much. Great reporting, and happy you got a chance to be in that courtroom and also lay out the scene for us as well. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right, so now we're going to break it down. I'm joined once again by our general counsel here at Law and Crime, Elizabeth Vulai, but also I am joined by criminal defense attorney Nima Rahmani. Good to see you. Thanks so much. Happy to have you both here. Nima, I'll start with you. I mean, the idea of a May 2025 trial date, and we talked about it before on the show, that Sean Combs, if he thinks he's going to be locked up, obviously wants to go to trial as soon as possible. I get it. He's kind of putting the prosecution's feet to the fire. But you heard Elizabeth. Terabytes of data, all this to go through, a production schedule. This really going to happen in May, this trial?
Probably not, but Diddy's lawyers may want to jam up the government if they think there's any chance they're not ready in terms of presenting the electronic evidence or getting their witnesses lined up. It may be part and parcel of the defense's strategy to push this case to trial as quickly as possible. Obviously, we know Combs is in custody, so there's really no point for him to wait. We know that the defense case is going to be limited. When Judge Subramanian asked for a time estimate today, the prosecution gave 3 weeks. The defense only gave 1 week, which means that they're going to base this case mostly on cross-examination. So what they probably want to do is push this case as quickly as possible, because we know under the Speedy Trial Act, unless they waive time or time is excluded, the government technically has to get this to trial within 70 days.
So let me just follow up on that. If he's hit with a superseding indictment, right, and we don't know what those charges could be, we don't know if there could be multiple defendants, we don't know if they're respect to potentially minors. No, am I crazy to think that there's no way this trial is then going to happen in May?
It's unlikely, especially if there's a superseding indictment involving minors, because minors present a completely different set of circumstances. Because we know through his lawyers, Combs is arguing that the sexual activity happened, but it was consensual. Of course, for sex trafficking, you need one of those three elements: force, fraud, or coercion. Obviously, minors cannot consent to any sexual activity, so that would be a very different defense entirely. The defense would have to be that the activity didn't happen at all and the individuals are lying. So I think that's going to be the potential game changer if we do get the minors wrapped up into a superseding indictment. And we know, at least if you believe the civil attorneys, there are 25 minor victims, one of which is as young as 9.
And those
Yeah, he had a lot of time on his hands. He had a lot of free time on his hands with all those victims, man. Just picture that. He had a lot of free time. That's all I'm going to say.
Those suits haven't been filed yet, but that's what Tony Busby, this Texas attorney, has indicated that we should expect to see in these lawsuits. Elizabeth, I want to go to you. So as our other Elizabeth said, there was nothing about bail, and that's not surprising because that issue of bail has now been appealed to a different court, to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. I was going over the paperwork from Sean Combs' attorneys. We have 2 questions about that. Number one, from Simply Sarah on YouTube, his lawyer did file bail paperwork. Yes. This is the second question. This is from Simply Sarah. Oh, Simply Sarah had 2 bail questions. Second one is, was this his last chance for bail, meaning the paperwork that he just filed?
Yeah, so they filed paperwork basically appealing the decision of the 2 prior judges denying him bail to the Second Circuit. And, technically, if they're denied, they do have another higher court, the U.S. Supreme Court, to go to, but I think that's very unlikely. I think this would be the final stop, them appealing to the Second Circuit.
What do you think of his arguments? And let me just lay out what some of these arguments are. So first they say, we have presented a very attractive bail package. We have put $50 million secured by 2 properties, 24/7 security monitoring from an outside security firm, no access to phone, no access to internet, visitor logs, whatever other conditions you want to put. And they also said in their paperwork, Sean Combs knew he was under investigation since January. His attorneys immediately reached out to the Southern District of New York, even before there were raids, before there was charges, was trying to be as cooperative as possible. He surrendered his passport to his attorneys. His family members surrendered their passports. He tried to sell his plane. He came to New York to surrender himself for the charges, and he says that all these allegations that he was reaching out to victims and witnesses, either A, it can't be corroborated, prosecution hasn't presented enough evidence, or B, it was innocuous conversations. It wasn't something sinister, as the prosecution alleges. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument to make. I understand why they stated that. You know, the former judge that was presiding over this case had said when he denied him the application for bail was there's no guarantee that he won't try to obstruct justice in some way, whether that's, you know, removing or tampering with physical evidence, intimidating witnesses possibly, and there could be a strong likelihood of that. You know, what was in the indictment and what a lot of the complaints are based on is a pattern of controlling behavior that he displayed. So you don't know if that behavior could spill over to trying to prevent witnesses from coming forward, speaking. And I also think this is a case that's going to rely heavily on physical evidence. The video of Cassandra Ventura being one. It's alleged that he filmed a lot of these activities that are at issue now. So there's that always that risk. And if
Oh, that's what's going on with that, man. You know what I mean? Diddy in a world of trouble. Diddy was on top of the world, man. Look, he had people that he paying to just pat his head. Diddy in a world of trouble, man. Diddy in a world of trouble. You know? So, you know, that's where we at with it. If you subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're not subscribed, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's get this thing popping. And cop the book of law&crime. It's on the screen. Been there all night. Let's do this. All right?
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime. Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in hall. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Yeah. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Real. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be horn uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend an ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours, so we can give back to the